Hello, everybody. Welcome to the SDR Intel podcast. Today, we're going to be changing it up a little bit. We're going to be doing kind of a market update for our existing homeowners and anyone who's looking to use the Hosty service, use Hosty management. We're going to be doing a market update. What are we seeing, in occupancy? What are we looking at, the next few months in occupancy, pricing, how is the real estate market shaping up? We're also going to be going into some product updates we have. What are some new things we're adding? How are we improving our product? So it's going to be a fun podcast. It's going to be a little bit different than our normal, but we're excited. So I've got Killian Gordon. A lot of our owners may have probably met Killian. He's probably helped them onboard their house. Killian is the business development manager at Hosty. And then I've got Philip Wilburn as well. And Philip is our other owner at Hosty. And so still in Scottsdale, right?
Still in Scottsdale. I know she didn't put a title on me.
Yeah, well, what is your title?
I don't know. Everything, anything.
Yeah, put out fires.
It's something I've become very comfortable with.
Yeah.
Not having a title.
Well, let's go into it. So, market updates. We just had probably the most incredible summer we've ever had. So, pretty much every house set a record on revenue, on, occupancy. July was... blew us away on what we did. Our pricing strategy has worked. So just to give an idea of what our pricing strategy looks like, it's basically, we're aiming for a high occupancy, high pricing. And how do you achieve that? And what we're seeing mostly with Airbnbs out in the market is they're booking out their Airbnbs way in advance, maybe at lower pricing. So we take a different strategy. Let's see what's the highest price we can get for our short-term rentals. And so that probably means we're going to book up a lot of stuff last minute when everyone else has booked out their rental. We're going to come in there and sweep in and let the guest book at a higher price, which worked beautifully for June and July. We saw really high pricing. It all filled out. We're tapering back that strategy a little bit here for August, September, October. We're going a little bit less aggressive on the pricing and, we're aiming to book out a few more rentals before because we know we're seeing a little bit of a slowdown here. What do you seeing, Phil?
Do you think that's because of seasonality, or we could even talk about the COVID variant and that becoming mask mandates coming open and lockdowns and things like that. Do you guys think that's affecting it at all? Or I know typically in Colorado Springs. This is typically kind of the slowdown a little bit. We were kind of transitioning into mid-season especially as we get out of August into September. So I think some natural slowdown is normal. But do you guys think that the COVID variant, is that affecting it as well?
I think it's a little bit of a blend of both. Maybe 75% that we're just slowing down a little bit. We are going into what we've always traditionally referred to as kind of your mid-seasons. Your fall and your spring would be your mid-seasons. And then so I'd say about 75% of that is just the slowdown in the seasons. I think maybe 25% of that is in the back of people's minds. They're wary of what's going to take place in the end of September or October as things start to just get a little colder in general. And like the traditional flu season picks up as well. But maybe we'll also just see people not book as far out in advance like we did in last year when we were really in the thick of COVID. The lead time for bookings just became smaller, and people didn't book out the 30 days in advance or the 3 or 4 weeks in advance because they wanted to see what local municipalities were going to do in terms of either be Delta or whatever it may be.
Yeah, and you've got kids going back to school
Absolutely.
in August, September, so, it's just a natural slowdown. August is usually pretty good. It's about as good as June is. Sometimes it competes with July in terms of numbers. Right now it's competing with June, so if you're looking for an expectation on what you're going to make in August, look back at June, and that's probably fairly close. September, we've got Labor Day, which is already pretty much mostly booked out. You got Labor Day and you've got Air Force, Parents Weekend. So in the first week of September. So that usually boosts September. September doesn't slow down too much. September is probably comparable to May.
And we may see different trends with different homes. Correct me if I'm wrong, but last year, some of those homes outside of Colorado Springs, more in your Woodland Park, Cascade, Monument, a little bit more away from the city, those seem to remain booked a bit more than the homes within the heart of cities during COVID. So each area geographically might perform a little bit differently as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're not seeing we're seeing a little bit of uptick in cancellations, and I apologize, the allergies or the smoke here is still killing me.
Still getting crushed by it.
Yeah, still getting crushed. So I've got a stopped up nose and I sound like Squidward or something with a nasally voice, but I'm managing through. But yeah, what were you saying?
Well, what do you guys think about one idea we had played with, bounced back and forth, was if some of these major cities are the cities that go through bigger lockdowns and bigger shutdowns, would that push people more towards a market like Colorado where it's kind of more mountain getaway, and you may have other areas of the United States, their markets drop significantly, but areas that offer a little bit more of a rural mountain getaway, you might not see those be as affected as bad. But what you're saying is, as we speak, we're not really seeing bookings be affected by the discussion of lockdowns right now.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing a slowdown as normal. But what we typically do is we start lowering the price. So we've been scaling back the price a little bit. It's not going to be as aggressive as it was in July. It's not going to be as aggressive as it was in June, and that's perfectly normal. We have a year-round. We need to look at this business as a year-round summary and not month-to-month. So we've always told our owners this: if you're looking at it month-to-month, you're probably looking at it wrong. That's it's not a healthy way to look at your numbers. You're going to earn more in June, July, and August than you are in other months of the year. So don't expect the $10,000 check going into October. We still had a great year last year, a great month last year in October. I mean, October was really strong last year. We didn't really see a slowdown. Basically, as soon as July hit last year in 2020, the rest of the year was pretty packed. But we might not get that this year. I mean, we're seeing good indicators. We don't think we're gonna slow down to a halt like we did April and May of last year, but that the market's still healthy, basically. So, any other thoughts?
Yeah, and like you were saying, Killian, that kind of trend of people gravitating away from the big cities, headed towards the mountains. What do we say? Lakes, rivers, and streams reign supreme. I think we're still seeing that trend. People just trying to get away, get out into nature, into wilderness. So if you're in kind of more remote areas, mountain, lake towns, I think you're still going to see a good bit of volume, even with these uprising COVID cases.
We're in a very good market to be in. I consider it a driving location. So, places like Breckenridge, places on resorts on the ocean front that have ocean front, those are very seasonal. So they have very big ups and they have very big downs. Ours tends to go really high up in the summer, and then it kind of just tapers off a little bit. And we still see pretty decent revenues throughout the year per home. And, we're in a good, we're Colorado Springs and surrounding areas is a really good market to be in for, consistency and all that good stuff. Cause we're already starting to book up Christmas. We're starting to book up Thanksgiving. We've got a lot of these little holidays scattered throughout that tend to make stronger months than otherwise would be. And then obviously we're expecting January, February to still be slow. That's our slow season. So we're lucky we only have 2 months of a slow season, which is great. But yeah, I mean, and then kind of like what we're still seeing, and I've been saying this for a while now, but it's with the regulations that were put back in place in 2019 in Colorado Springs, it puts a nice little taper on the market in a good way. If you already own a short-term rental, you don't have to worry about new short-term rentals coming onto the market. So you have almost like a little monopoly that you have with your short-term rental. So the best thing to do is to continue to keep your permit and keep it active, because with simple economics, we're seeing an increase in people using short-term rentals and using Airbnb, using HomeAway, and we're still seeing a decrease in listing supply in this general area, just because anytime someone sells a property with a short-term rental permit, that property's never getting it back, right, Killian?
Yeah, absolutely. And so you've got these somewhat up and down periods of the short-term rental market. And in a hot real estate market like Colorado Springs right now, it may even look appealing to sell the home. But really, if you're looking at this as your 2, 3, 4, 5-year plan, as we go into the slow season a little bit, of course, it's not going to be as wonderful as it was in the summer. But holding out and holding on to that short-term rental permit above anything would be key. I would say no matter what anyone does with a home, if they already have their short-term rental permit for it in Colorado Springs, hold on to it and just factor that into the cost of owning that home.
Because the permit doesn't transfer with ownership.
Absolutely.
So, especially if you're in an R1 zone,
R1.
if you sell the home, that permit is gone forever unless that's somebody's primary residence, which they would have to live there too.
Correct.
Yeah.
This maybe some of our real estate owners and real estate agents who are listening to this can confirm or deny it, but one of the things I pay close attention to is your 4, 5, 6 bedroom luxury homes that are coming on the market through the MLS that are being sent to me. And those are some of your highest performing homes. They tend to be your 4, 5, 6 bedroom luxury homes tend to be the highest performing homes in terms of revenue. And you saw some of these prices, what used to be maybe a $600,000, $700,000 home. In the last year or so, that's been a $800,000 or a $900,000, maybe even $1 million home. And those numbers don't look quite as good when you look at the cash flow from that investment. I think what I'm starting to see is maybe those 5, 4, 6 bedroom luxury homes kind of stabilize out and kind of settle in a little bit better spot that makes some of these short-term rental numbers look just as appealing as they have in the past. Or for some of the owners who got in on these homes before the huge bubble, so they sit on it really nicely in the buy.
So that presents a good buying opportunity because we are seeing inflation in the short-term rental prices too. I mean, they're much higher than they were a year ago. Like I said, our most of our owners set a record-setting month. Like this past month was probably, unless something catastrophic happened, was probably a record month for most of our owners.
Yeah, but a potential buying opportunity as you see these luxury homes kind of settle at more reasonable prices. Those tend to be your highest performing homes. I was listening to it was 2 months ago now, I think. Well, it was published 2 months ago. But Denver, I think Fox News in Denver put together a panel of 8 or 10 real estate professionals, lenders, brokers, etc. And they just talked about what they thought about the state of the market. And there was a general consensus is that we're not in a bubble in Colorado Springs. All the indicators are there to keep this market as strong as it is. We may have a little bit of the foreclosures that take place here. As the moratorium ends for the landlord-tenant laws with COVID kind of changing, you might have people going into foreclosure, and there's no indicator of a bubble, but that may be one thing that kind of helps stabilize the market, or unfortunately, people can't afford to keep that home. They might be looking to sell it at a little bit less price than if this market held out to the extent that so far it has, and all indicators are showing it may be. So as you see,
it just brings more supply to the market.
Yes.
Do you guys know, has that been, because I know federally that was lifted, and I think they may have put it back on, the moratorium at a state level or city level in Colorado? Is that still in effect? Do you guys know?
I'm not sure. It hasn't really affected us much because we've never had an eviction. Like we've never had to. We never had to go through an eviction process.
For those who don't know, 29 days and below stays the short-term rental market. There's no landlord-tenant laws, so these types of rules don't apply to short-term rentals. So just speaking to it in terms of maybe more inventory on the market. But I believe the CDC came in and said something about evictions, but I don't know if that's...
I thought it got extended or something like that.
It may have been,
yeah.
Or it may have been blocked and turned down by a court. We should look into that, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
If anyone knows...
Yeah, I was going to say I agree with you, Kelly. And it's kind of what I've seen is kind of the market stabilizing as far as pricing, and I'm seeing some houses staying on the market a little bit longer, and in fact, some decreases in pricing versus what we were seeing before was all these cash buyers coming in, and within a day or two of the listing being live, they're just scooped up and gone. But it seems like that's starting to stabilize out a little more, especially when you get to that 800,000 to $1 million range. Those kind of homes are definitely. I'm just seeing a lot more available.
And that's not to say that maybe that the price is still a little bit high compared to other markets, but the velocity, the speed at how these homes have been increasing in price so quickly is starting to
taper off.
Yeah, not flatline by any means, but definitely.
And that's healthy too. We probably don't want that to continue, because that probably means a followed by a quick decline as well. Usually that means you are getting into bubble territory, which we don't want. No. So yeah, I mean, I think we'll probably see the large increase. Like, what do we have? Like 15% increase in appreciation on the homes.
I think it was 16.
Yeah, something crazy like that.
It was like 8% 2 years ago, and now it was 16%.
I think we'll probably taper off back to like a healthy 4 to 8%, which is supported, like Philip was saying, by our economics. There's people still moving here. There's homes are still being built very slowly.
Yes.
So the economics are supported here.
There's a strong economy overall, especially in Colorado, to support these type of home prices.
Because if you had a bubble or anything like that, you would be seeing like people, paying exorbitant amounts for stuff that which we're seeing, but you would see a lot more frantic behavior.
Yeah, absolutely.
That wouldn't be the economics wouldn't support that behavior. It would be more hysteria. But not investment advice, by the way. We don't give investment advice.
Just what we're seeing.
Just what we're seeing.
At the end of the day, it's all forecasting. No one really knows. We don't really know. There's indicators, but
if there is anyone out there who can predict the future, we'd love to have them on. So future updates for Hosties and some things that we're in the middle of, because we are making some incredible changes. We're almost increasing in staff by 30-40% this month alone.
Yeah, I mean, we're training like 5 new people between this week and next week. So, we're hiring like crazy, and our overall goal is to increase product quality, increase guest experience, increase how good we can maintain homes, increase how well we can price out homes. I mean, our overall goal is just to continue to funnel our resources and back into our product and make it even better than it is now. And so, this summer highlighted a few key areas that we need to work on, and we've come up with a good plan of what we're going to do going forward in terms of, getting better care at the homes. Sometimes it's very difficult to solve problems at the homes when, like this past July, we had check in, check out.
There's
so we
no
only
home
had
access.
We have six hours between a stay to accomplish things that are broke or to do things between stays. So it becomes very difficult, but we've got a good solution, we think, that can better fill those gaps. Which, Philip, do you want to highlight the solution we're coming up with here?
Yeah. So talking about the staffing, we've beefed up our maintenance staff. I think we've tripled our maintenance staff in the past couple months. So kind of getting all those people trained up, getting them going. Because we think the property care, the cleaning, maintenance is the backbone of our company. That should absolutely be solid. So beefing up we've just switched warehouses as well, where we're doing our linens and processing. So we've just switched that up. So that should be way more streamlined. And we shouldn't have any issues with linen shortages. But the thing, and I'll let you touch on this more, Evan, that we're really excited about, that I think is going to give the attention to detail that we need at these houses, is the squad structure. So having one dedicated staff to a certain amount of houses versus now we have all of our staff managing all the properties. So now they're going to have, we're thinking 25, Evan, somewhere around 25 properties.
Yeah.
We'll have to test it out and see if that's a good number, but just that squad structure. That person's going to be in charge of those 25 houses, inspecting them after cleans, dedicated to the reviews, to the owner responses, those type of things. So it's just a way more customized and detailed management of those homes.
Yeah, and what we're doing is, like you said, we're splitting the management of the properties, and we're giving kind of ownership to one person. And what we're doing is we're bringing a lot of people in from the actual property management world. So like long-term property management, people that are professionals in this industry. We just hired 2 on, and we're building out 2 squads right now. And, some of their duties will be inspecting the home every week to ensure that the home is being properly maintained. They're going to be delivering feedback to the cleaners. So instantaneous feedback. If the cleaner's missing the floor, or they're missing something, they're going to be right on that, and they're going to coach the cleaner and have them come back and correct the issue. So, we're bringing back. I don't know if most of you owners, like, you see the little baggies we provide with all the supplies in them, like the laundry pods and stuff. We're moving away from that, and we're going to do bulk supplies in the home. So we're going to, instead of providing the guests 4 laundry pods, we're going to put a whole bucket of laundry pods by the dryer. And now with the squad structure, we can properly manage that, because before it was, how do you manage all this inventory across the homes? So providing more supplies to our guests, and also providing better supplies. We're partnering with a company called Public Goods, and they have mostly green products, more luxury products. So we can now start providing just better quality products to the guests in terms of toilet paper, paper towels, everything across the board. We're really investing back into our product to provide a better experience to our guests. But yeah, the squad members, what's going to be great about this is they're going to be looking at your home weekly, going to it, doing quality assurance, coordinating major maintenance tasks, coordinating things that are broken, fixing stuff on the spot. And, they're going to be, they're going to have that relationship with you they're going to know your home really well, right? And so they're going to be able to assist you with knowing what's going on at your property. And instead of just having one owner account manager for all of our properties, we're going to have, someone that's more dedicated to you and has better focus on your property. So that's kind of the overall goal, is to use that to increase product quality.
And you're just going to have a overall higher level of accountability at each property. So, as we innovate and we roll out new technology in our home, like Noiseware, which we can touch on in a second as well, it's a very dynamic inventory, and you're trying out new things in every home. You're always trying to optimize the guest experience, the owner's experience, and the property care. And what we're doing here is, instead of having a larger amount of properties be divided over just a larger staff, what you can do is essentially you're going to have many little property management companies inside of Hosty just dealing with a smaller subset of homes. So we can bring that quality and that accountability to each home, no matter how we scale or no matter what areas we go in Colorado or outside of Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
And so they can. Yeah, I was gonna say, they can just be more proactive and just quicker response times.
Yeah.
Because that's what we found too. Is
speaking to like owners too, almost directly, it's you are gonna have this ability. Shucks, I kind of just lost my train of thought. But as you take on more homes, one of the things that's very crucial to the short-term rental industry that's different from like the long-term rental industry is having that touch, that like very personal touch of the hospitality industry, because that's what really takes the guest experience to a new level, is that extra attention, that extra touch of hospitality. That's where a lot of owners and a lot of people who have been managing their short-term rental, that's very important to them. They've been actively involved. It's a very intimate experience in some senses. And as we implement this squad structure, we can still offer the professional management services, but still maintain what's really important to the short-term rental industry, and that's like that customized hospitality, a personal experience with each home.
Yeah, and it's like one task. I was just training our first squad leader today, and they're going to be taking on more of the midterm side of the company and a few short-term rentals. So their squad makes up 30 properties. But what we're already doing is every time a guest says they inquire about staying at one of our properties, if they book a property, they usually leave a message that says, hey, I'm coming into town for my anniversary or honeymoon. And, we want to be more attentive to that, and basically like now they have that data and they're going to do a quality insurance inspection anyways. They can drop off a, hey, happy anniversary card or a bottle of wine and really give it that personal touch. They can start to build better relationships with the guests. We're still going to have our guest communications team. But we're still going to have that person that's dedicated to your property, that's making sure like guests aren't running into issue. I mean, the whole idea here is preventative, not reactive. So it's catching the issues before they get to the guest. It's catching the issues. And again, we've only got sometimes that 6-hour window to make it happen. So we really need a quick response time. And so we think that we think this structure is going to solve that. We think we're doing a good job now, but we want to do a great job. We want to do an incredible job. We want to be 10x better than anyone else in the market at doing this. And so, we're reinvesting back into our product on that.
Absolutely. I think you see a lot of, not anything against them, but I think you see a lot of smaller short-term rental companies get to that 25 or 30 property mark. And that's where you kind of begin to lose touch with the home, and they kind of either stay stagnant or they backtrack because they can't bring that personalized experience to the home. And so breaking them out over all these different squads is just, I see it as a solution to a lot of the challenges we've faced. And they're not like consistent, persistent challenges, but when things get very, very busy in the peak season, you start to find your stress points, and that's the best time to jump on them and start implementing changes.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, like our overall goal as a company is every year you use Hosty as your property manager or your short-term rental manager. Our goal is to make our product better every year. So, because we're looking at this stuff. We're looking at, okay, where are things breaking? Where are we lacking? And we're fixing those. We're constantly doing it every day, and we're training our employees to do that too. Everybody at Hosty is in charge of making the product better.
Well, it's Noiseware, so
yeah.
We're in a trial run. Phil, why don't you touch on that?
Yeah, so we tried out another one. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Another noise software, but it just wasn't. Maybe as an individual property you could do it, but to scale it for 150 plus properties, it just wasn't the right thing. So NoiseAware, they just released a couple new key features that we're testing out at a property. So now they have outdoor noise aware that they can use as well as indoor still. And something interesting as well too is, once we get up to a certain number of properties, they no longer will charge us for the actual hardware. So what we're thinking is, if this testing goes right, we're going to implement it just as a free value add to all of our owners to roll that out. And I mean, on the noise aware, of course, what that does is it detects, you can set a certain threshold of noise, and once it reaches that, it'll alert you via phone, email, or even a text. And that way, instead of hearing from the neighbors that someone's having a party or things are getting too loud, as soon as the noise gets, to that certain threshold, you get a phone call and you can respond to it. That may just be a phone call to the guest, hey, keep it quiet, or, you could expose they're having a party. Maybe you need to scale that up and eventually maybe even call the police. So that's something we're excited about. And again, just adding free value to the product, making a better product. That's kind of the goal. So
yeah, and
time frame on that. I mean, we'd probably say three to 4 months for, if it goes well, for full implementation. But it's something we're rolling out.
Yeah, and I mean, the key problem we're trying to solve there is like parties and noise complaints by neighbors are pretty rare. Like it's probably like 1 every 1,000 reservations. But what we don't want to have happen is our neighbors are our alert system. Like I don't want our neighbors to have to report. It's not their job to report like people being loud or parties and stuff like that. Like I don't want to leave the onus on them to do that. I want to be the person, or we want Hosty to be the people that basically we get an alert when someone's being loud and we're able to stop it before it even gets to the neighbors. So, it's kind of a very small subset of problems. It's not like a rampant problem or anything. Like, we're not contacting neighbors. It's like it's one of those preventative things we can do to just better maintain a relationship with our neighbors and to be good neighbors. So, yep. But yeah, I think that's all we had. It's a quick update on our company, where we're going. There's a lot more things we're doing. That's just kind of just a few major items. We're constantly improving. We're constantly getting better. We're looking at the market and adapting and changing our pricing strategy based on what the new data we're getting and how the market's shaping. So we're excited about this industry. This industry continues to grow. It continues to explode, and I think it's a great industry, a great investment to have if you're looking at a short-term rental investment, or already have one. We're seeing people making great returns, and assets being taken well care of, because they're getting cleaned 2 to 3 times a week. And now we're very excited. We're very optimistic about where the industry's going, and we think it's going to get better and better. We're going to continue to get better and better. And yeah, we're super excited. Do you guys have anything to add to that?
Yeah, just say for any owners that end up watching this, leave us some feedback, leave us a comment, the like, notification bell, subscribe. Let us know if you guys like this, and we can start doing it. I don't know, once a month or at least once a quarter, at the very least. But
yeah, it's a kind of a nice way, instead of us sending an email newsletter. It's like, hey, why don't we just talk about it and talk about with the leaders at Hosty. Well, let's talk about where we're going and
we can even
what we're up to.
Curtail it to what feedback you guys give us. So
yeah, what do you want to hear about? If there's anything you want to hear about, or how we're solving a certain problem, we're happy to talk about it. So thanks so much for taking a listen, and we will be back next week with SDR Intel.